Hey guys, I wanted to make a quick video. I was doing a Here's DoT Gemling and I realized that to level that build as a Here's DoT, I would not be getting any damage until like level 40. But as I looked into uniques and how to level it up, I realized that I underestimated the tabula body armor, unique body armor, and I want to talk a bit about good leveling setup and also talk about very briefly about Here's DoT Gemling and why was I even doing that in the first place and what's sort of wrong with it. So tabula, for some reason at first I thought that tabula is just 6 rune sockets, but it's actually jewel sockets. It can only socket normal jewels, it cannot socket unique jewels. It is level 1 item. Even when you upgrade it and you don't need to upgrade, you can get like at minimum 150% increased damage at like level 1. And then like at level 16 you can put on these gloves if you are a spellcaster to get an extra 100% increased spell damage. And this works for pretty much any build, and it works especially well if you don't have access to damage nodes early on and you absolutely need it. Obviously this is not gonna work on your like very first character because you do need currency to buy better jewels, but if you're doing like a second character you can get a bunch of cheap jewels with double damage, for example spell damage and here's damage if you got currency. And if for example if you're doing crit build, you can also search for critical damage, you can also search for skill speed, skill effect duration like recoup, regen, life and mana, sustain, and you can get so much damage on just the tabula alone at level 1. Now in addition, this build has no defenses, no armor, no evasion. This is just a leveling setup. It had no defenses at all except resistances, obviously gold rim. And then I found that this shield added so much extra survivability for me. This is very low level shield. Your block is capped at maximum 50% chance to block, so obviously do want to lower this number. You take 25% of the damage from blocked hits. So you want to lower this as much as possible. And then you can also socket this Rune of Vitality. Each time you block you recover 15 flat life. And that added so much tankiness. I was struggling so much, and after adding this it just made a huge difference. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say about the tabula. Give it a try if you have not, and if you're worried about defenses, just maybe use this shield. And also if you got some other ideas for the jewels that you could use in tabula, let us know in the comments below, because I'm sure it could be useful for others as well. Now about the build that I was doing, Here's DoT Legionnaires, basically Essence Drain, Contagion, and then adding some other things for a single target. The reason why I was doing that, Legionnaire Gemling gets additional quality or alternative additional quality, and also it can get +2 to skill levels, which is pretty important when you're playing spellcaster. So that and then additional quality. Now what do you get on additional quality on ED Contagion? So Contagion is actually getting at 20 quality is getting 50% more area of effect. Now Contagion is very satisfying to watch when it keeps spreading to other enemies, but the issue is that if there's a bit bigger gap, it just stops, and you have to cast Contagion and Essence Drain again. And Contagion transfers all the here's damage over time. It spreads curses on death. It spreads all the here's damage over time debuffs. I believe it doesn't spread poison. So it does include damage over time from your curse that you can get by using Decaying Hex. If you link Decaying Hex to your curse, it does pretty okay damage. It's not great damage, like 446 here's damage per second compared to Contagion, which is 146. So that also can be spread to other enemies, including Essence Drain, and I believe including Profane Ritual. I'm gonna talk. Profane Ritual is actually bugged and doesn't really scale. So basically my idea was to build so much AoE that it would just spread out pretty much across the screen, across almost all the screen. Right now I have 3.9 meter spread radius, but this is not a limit. I'm still missing 5% quality, still missing some AoE I could get on helmet and stuff like that. So I could get probably a bit over 4 meter spread, but in the end it's still not going to be quite enough. Now Essence Drain also gets chains. With just 20 quality it gets extra 4 chains. One of the issues with Essence Drain Contagion is usually first you want to apply Contagion and only then Essence Drain, because Essence Drain does a lot more damage and it may kill the target before you can even get a chance to cast Contagion. And it's only one projectile, and you don't really want to use multiple projectile support because that lowers your cast speed and damage. But with this it chains and it very often hits the target that you applied contagion on. A natural way would be to first use Essence Rain, and then there's I believe a higher probability that contagion will be applied onto the target that has Essence Rain. But the target, if you have good damage, the target will be dead before you can cast contagion. So this kind of fixes the issue of Essence Rain contagion combo. However, now I'm thinking that it gets a lot of chains, and there is a support that has 200% more chains. So in theory, let's say you get 8 chains at 40 quality, and then you use that support and you get what, 24 extra chains? I wouldn't really want to play with just Essence Rain. It does have some hit damage and dot, but for single target is still an issue. Dark Effigy gets extra totem. Withering Essence is able to apply Wither much faster. As you can see, withered enemies in your presence have a minus like frequency, so I think in the end it's gonna be like half a second to apply one wither, and it lasts for 6 seconds as a base. Despair has massive reduced mana cost, so right now it's only 24 mana, while the other courses are like 200 mana. Now the Profane Ritual. You saw that laser, I'm gonna talk about that as well, but very briefly because it's a side thing. Now Profane Ritual is bugged. It has been bugged for over half a year. It currently does not scale with spell damage at all. It literally says modifiers to spell damage apply to buff damage over time. It does not. It literally does not. Also 2153 damage. I remove Swift Affliction, 2153. It's still the same. So all the supports that affect the spell damage, including Swift Affliction, Zenith, Considered Casting, none of those affected. It has been broken for over half a year, and this skill can actually do a lot more damage than Essence Rain. On paper it can do about 50% more damage than Essence Rain. There is also a Prism of Belief plus 3 to all Profane Ritual skills. This is very cheap. If you look for the same one for Contagion or Essence Rain, it's so expensive. So this is broken and not working, and even with this, it doesn't scale its damage well enough. By the way, as a Gemling, the way I was planning on scaling more quality is using Darkness Enthroned, Fox Idol, and the bonded modifier is 9 quality of all skills. And then you can get the quality modifier on the amulet, and then there's anointment, but anointment is very expensive, but the modifier on amulet may be a bit cheaper. I will look into that because I will be reworking this build completely into attack build. Now one last thing, you saw the beam, and maybe you are wondering what is this beam coming from. This beam looks really cool. And this is coming from this lineage support. It's cheap support. The issue is that it's 7-second delay. It links to a curse. It has 100% of physical damage converted into the damage type matching of the curse. So if it's despair, then it's chaos conversion. If you're gonna be using flammability, it's gonna be actually, let me test. I believe it visually also changes. It hits up to 6 times. The crit chance is not very high, but I was doing some testing, and when it crits, it does a lot of damage. This support scale with the skill level that is linked to, so you would want to boost the skill level as much as possible. And then the supports like plus here skills in this case does affect despair. You can use supports like Zenith, anything else that boosts spell damage, and you can actually cast 2 of these because it does limit to 2 curse grounds, but it does have a 2-second cooldown, and like I said, 7-second delay before the beam appears. But it looks so cool. Look at that. Oh, it looks so good. Let me try some other courses and see if it changes colors. Oh, actually I forgot that there is no flammability, there's only LA weakness. Is it gonna be different color beam? Is it gonna be like a rainbow color? Let's see. And oh, that looks really good. Wow. Okay, it doesn't drop FPS, but it looks like it's a bit blurry or pixelated. Either way, I'm not gonna be doing anything with that just yet because I just discovered this like few minutes ago before making this video, and I don't see how you could clear with that. You could not clear with that. And for a single target, it does have pretty small AoE. Initial AoE's impact radius is 1.7 meters, but I do have quite a bit of AoE. But again, if the target moves outside the zone, then it does nothing, and it's like 7-second delay, and then it would do nothing. As far as I can tell, yeah, skill effect duration does not affect this frequency, and I believe probably nothing affects. So now with a bit more AoE, okay, yeah, it's probably gonna be bigger now. Yeah. So it hit 6 times. So maybe there is some interesting build that you can do with that. Yeah, Temp Chain was, I believe, like pure white laser. Okay, let's just try. Temp Chain does not have a damage type tag, but vulnerability does have physical. Let's see. Is it gonna be red, maybe? That also looks pretty cool. Not sure what color is that, but yeah. Maybe someone else have already tried this support and got some ideas, or share it in the comments below, because I'm very curious about this. It looks so cool, but you do need so much AoE, and I guess you could maybe freeze the target and then drop this. I don't know. So yeah, that's about it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.